Let's talk about the Justice Department's comments on wacky tobacco and guns. Oh, where have you been, John? That is a question that some of you guys might be asking. Probably not, but maybe. I've been a little bit under the weather here in the last few weeks, but I'm dealing with it and getting better as we speak. But that is not the only thing I've been doing. I'm also working on a takedown on an anti-gun U.S. congressman. Kind of caught him in a lie, and I'm going to explain exactly why he lied, how I know he lied, and what the actual data says. So stay tuned for that. That should be very, very interesting. If you can do me a big favor, Wolverines, go ahead and like this video, leave me a comment, and also subscribe to the channel. Turn on all notifications. It really helps with engagement. All right, today we are going to be talking about the devil's lettuce and guns. As you know, there is a case going up in the circuit courts about marijuana users and firearms. Marijuana users are prohibited from owning firearms according to federal law, and that is being challenged right now in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. Yesterday, the government filed their brief, and I read through their brief, and it is pretty comical. The Department of Justice is claiming that prohibition of people that use marijuana from owning firearms is comfortably constitutional. And I'm going to tell you why, and you're going to have to let me know if you agree or disagree. I'm just going to list out a few of their points. The first thing the government is saying is that people that use marijuana are not likely to store their firearms safely, even though I'm not even sure where there is a firearm storage law in effect federally. But that's one of their arguments, that people use marijuana and then they don't store their firearms safely, which is kind of ridiculous. Okay, now let's get to point two. People that use marijuana are more than likely mentally ill. I'm not even making that up. They say that marijuana users on average have a higher rate of mental illness, which I'm not sure if that's true or not, but mental illness can be found with anyone, not just marijuana users. I'm not sure that people that use marijuana have a higher chances of having a mental illness than the average citizen, but the Department of Justice is claiming that that is the case. So because that they have mental illness, they should not be allowed to own firearms. There's a lot of people that are on cancer treatments and other type of treatments for other types of diseases that use medical marijuana, and I'm pretty sure not all of them are mentally ill. The next argument is that marijuana users that own guns pose a threat to society because they might mishandle their firearms while high, which is kind of ridiculous because you can say the same thing about people with beer and guns or whiskey and guns. But I would much rather trust someone who smoked marijuana with a firearm than someone who is blitzed out of their mind on alcohol with a firearm. That's just me. Let me know what you think down below. They also state that this prohibition is historically allowed under the traditions and text of the United States Constitution and the Second Amendment, which I don't find that anywhere, but maybe they will produce an analog. They didn't really produce an analog here. They just said, there is an analog. We're just not going to tell you what it is. So there you go. Even though they didn't give an exact analog, they did state that this country has a history of disarming people with mental illnesses. Basically going back to people on marijuana have mental illnesses, which isn't true. And I'm pretty sure they can't provide a scientific study that shows that everyone that uses marijuana has a mental illness. So I'm not really sure where they're going to go with that. Now get this. They also say that people that smoke marijuana are more likely to use violence and crime to fund their drug habit. Not only that, but people on marijuana are more violent, which I'm not really sure if they've ever seen anyone on marijuana, but doesn't look too violent to me. Also, they say that people that use marijuana are more likely to assault police officers. Not really sure where they're getting all this information from. It seems to me that they are just pulling crap out of their asses and throwing it at the wall like spaghetti to see what sticks. Now, this case is out of the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, and this isn't the only case out there. In this case, I do believe that the government will probably lose on this one. There's also a case out of the 11th Circuit, which the government isn't doing too well in either. They're probably going to lose in the 11th Circuit. And there is another case in the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals, which is down in Texas, and my favorite circuit of all the United States. The 5th has gave us some bangers, such as Cargill, the bump stock ruling, pistol frames and receivers, and also pistol braces. So I'm pretty sure that they are going to fine against the government in this case and rule that the prohibition of firearms for people that are on marijuana is constitutionally dubious. And I do think it will be overturned. So with that, let me just say that the government is grasping at straws. They want to disarm everyone. It's not about weed. It's not about drugs. It's not about alcohol. It's not about any of that stuff. The government wants to disarm as many people as possible, and they will use every means that they have to do so. So whether it's drugs, whether it's whatever, they will try to disarm you. They do not want you to own firearms. I wonder why. There's an old saying that says, when the government says that you cannot own firearms, that's the time when you really need firearms. And I am not saying anything that goes against that, because I tend to agree with that statement. The government wants control. Gun control is not about the gun. It is about the control. And you cannot control an armed populace. A government is only as free as its people. The government should fear the people and not the people fearing the government. That's just the way it is. But the government wants you to live in fear of Big Brother coming down and taking away your rights. And that's exactly what they are trying to do. All right, guys, that is it for today. Hopefully my story taking down the congressman will come out tomorrow, Saturday, or Monday at the latest. It just depends on how I am feeling. Also, I should be writing more articles once I start feeling a little bit better. I'll have more of an update of what's going on with all that later on. Just don't really feel like going into it right now, but maybe sometime next week. All right, guys, that is it. So go ahead and buy my book. There it is. Masters of Firepower, available everywhere. Just go ahead and get on Amazon. It's the easiest way. You can get the Kindle version, the hardcover, or paperback. Whatever you want, you can pick it up there. And with that, stay ever vigilant, stay ever free, keep in the fight. I am out of here, Wolverines, motherfucker.